Now, today we're talking about something which is part 2 of a trilogy. We are talking about do these things and you'll never be successful. The first one was so good, it was so impactful, but we had so much to talk about that we decided to split this topic up into 3 separate parts, and this is part 2.
So we're going to break this down one by one and show you what you need to remove as of now in order to be successful. So let's start with one we've spoken about this before, haven't we? Spending time with negs. And do you know what? It's perfect, isn't it? For, the situation we're in right now, because you can't get away from it. It's the negs, they're everywhere. They're in your family, they're in your friend circle, they're in the workplace, they're online, they're in your business, not in your business, hopefully not. Well, maybe they are, but they're sort of within the business environment. And do you know what? No matter how much you battle it, you still come across it time and time again. And you have to keep on realizing that there's negs everywhere. And, just when you think that, because recently we've experienced a little bit of this within the business. Mm-hmm. And as you grow, it's inevitable because you can't please everybody. And there's always something that somebody's got to say. You could be the best at anything and there's still somebody goes, why are you so fucking good at that? You Mr. Goody Two Shoes, always good at everything. Well, you're arrogant. What about everyone else? What about how you make them feel for being so good? There's always someone that's got some warped opinion, right? And I worked very hard to get myself to the point where I was like, you can say what you want about me because I know I'm okay. And I know that the polarity of life and people and opinions and beliefs and values means that some people won't like me. And I thought I'd cracked it. And then I realized that you have to face it in other walks of life as well. You have to face it in the business as well. And when you start a business, you become your business, you become invested in it, you become as one. Like we are the Coaching Masters and the business is the Coaching Masters. And if anybody says anything bad about it, we're like, oh, you've just cut me deep. I'd rather you call me a CUNT than you have a bad word to say about the Coaching Masters. Yeah. And it's something that we've had to face. And it's a never ending cycle of having to bring them to your attention because it's so easy to think that it's actually about you or you've done something wrong or you're the problem, when in reality, it's always them. But sometimes it can catch you out. And this is the main thing that I want everybody here listening to know. Every time you get hate, abuse, criticism, negative feedback, moaning, whatever it might be, I want you to understand that this is a reflection of themselves and it's not about you, because you can do whatever the hell you like. And you know that you're enough. You know that you're doing the best you can. Everyone else's opinion is completely and utterly irrelevant. But it's just so difficult to not get caught up in it sometimes and go, well, maybe they're right. Maybe it is about me. Maybe I'm not enough. But it's a never ending cycle, isn't it? Of uncovering these negs, realizing it, owning your worth and your sense of self that actually they're the problem, and then removing them the fuck out of your life.
I saw someone on Instagram the other day refer to them as a different term, neg head, right? A neg head. And I thought, yeah, that's actually a really other good term, isn't it? They're negs, they're negative people, they're neg heads, and that's what they are. And this is really important what we're talking about today, because remember, guys, every single person that watches this live, because for all of our listeners out there, just in case you didn't know, we stream our podcast episodes live every single week on the Coaching Mastery Facebook group. And everybody watching this live and everybody listening to the podcast episode, you want to be successful. You want to be happy. You want to feel good. And of course, the reason that you're listening to this one is because we are teaching you the things to avoid and the things not to do if you want to be successful. And one of those things is having negs or neg heads in your life. You need to cut them away like a cancer. You need to get rid of that shit because it spreads, and that is a problem when it spreads. Genuinely, get rid of it. Like a mold, if mold starts to take over your home and it starts off in the bedroom, you need to nip it in the bud and get rid of that mold straight away at the source and get it out of your house. And negative people are exactly the same. And why is that? That is because moods or states, like we like to talk about them in the world of NLP and coaching, are infectious, right? They are infectious. If somebody walks into a room and they are just happy, they're joyful, they're full of life, they're full of gratitude, and they have this unshakable level of happiness. Even if every other person in that room is down and depressed, the happy person will have an effect on the rest. But also those people that are feeling down and depressed and negative, they will have an effect on the happy person, because it's infectious either way. So you need to be, if you want to be successful, if you want to be happy, you want to be free, you want to be an excellent coach, that's another thing. If you want to be an excellent coach, you need to get rid of these people if they're in your life, right? People that drag you down, make you feel shit, shoot you down, bitch and moan behind your back, the whingers, the complainers, and the ones that are the victims that want everything done for them, and they don't want to have to do anything themselves. We need to take ownership over our lives. We need to take ownership over our business, over our mindsets, if we're going to be successful. And if you're being plagued by people that want you to do all of the work for them, you need to get those people out of your life, because at the end of the day, you need to take ownership over your own life. They need to take ownership over theirs. And if we all do that, we can collectively help each other. But if we collectively drag each other down, even if, and I tell you what, it always starts with just one or maybe two, like little drops in the pool, a couple of little drops of poison in the tonic water. You know, and you think, oh, okay, yeah, but there's still 99.9% tonic water. Doesn't matter, there's a couple of little drops of poison. Those couple of drops of poison, that spreads and that grows and that gains in strength. And you know what's going to happen? You're going to get dragged down and you're going to get hurt by it. So when we say, look, don't spend time with negs, get the neg heads out of your life, we're not fucking about. Like, we're being dead serious. If you want to learn from us and you want to know how to be successful, we're not joking with that. Like, that's a serious thing that you need to start to do.
I love what you said about the mold. I've kept that in my head since you said it. I want everybody listening here, next time they see a neg, just someone being negative, toxic, whatever it might be, critical, just look at them and think, you're moldy. You are moldy. Oh, you're moldy. Get out. Because guys, we're not just talking about, oh, the negative people aren't nice to be around. I'm talking about one word or one sentence could be enough to sabotage your entire life. Because if they plant that little seed of doubt, you might not think that it's had a massive effect on you, but that's the information that you're going to when looking to make your decisions. You might be thinking, shall I achieve that goal? Shall I start that business? Shall I get off the sofa? And you're thinking, let me look at all the information I've got available to me to think if that's a good choice. Is that going to be a waste of my time? Am I going to be successful with that? And you may think it's your own voice, but your own voice is a combination of every voice you've ever heard, every bit of criticism and feedback. And that's why people that come from quite supportive backgrounds end up being, relatively successful, not all the time, because they've had a lot of, positive reinforcement through their life. And the opposite way around, they end up being quite destructive because they've got that destructive language and voice in their heads. So if someone says to you, oh, what are you doing that for? Or, yeah, you sure you'd be any good at that? Or, oh, come on now, get real. That stuff is like, oh yeah, good point. That can be enough to sabotage your entire future. So we've done a whole episode on this one. Get the haters out your life for good. It's the first ever episode we've done. We always say it. Repetition is important. And there are some key things we cannot say once. If there is any negative person in your life, have a very strong word with them and tell them, do it again, and you're going to get out of my life, out of my life, out of my business, out of my family, out of my relationship, out of my workplace. You give them a very clear boundary. And if they keep on breaking that boundary, respect yourself enough to get them out, because the long lasting effects on that are huge.
Oh, they're devastating, mate. They're devastating. They're deadly. They're deadly. The long lasting effects of that are deadly, because your thoughts become your feelings become your actions become your results, so those negative people around
and your results become your character. Your character becomes your destiny. Remember, we learned something new recently.
So do you want a moldy destiny? No, you need to come at all of this stuff, right? Whether it be coaching, whether it be your life, whether it be your business, you need to come at this from a point of view of genuinely wanting to help people, right? Like we've always said, the more value you add to someone else's life, the more money you make. That's great, of course, right? That's brilliant. But also the more fulfillment you have, the more impact you make. If your mindset is firmly fixed on genuinely helping people, then whatever it is that you're doing, if there is anyone in your life trying to stop you from doing it, when you're firm, pure intention is to just genuinely try to help people, then get that person out of your life, because they're plaguing the mission. They are plaguing the mission that you have to have a positive effect on the world and a positive effect on other people. And we need more people like that in this world. We need more people that are just going to want to genuinely add value to people's lives, genuinely help people, and go at that mission full force and not let the negs bring them down, not let the neg heads bring them down.
Moldy.
Those moldy eggheads, you don't want them. You don't want them in your life. There's a chemical, right, in our bodies, in our brains, called oxytocin, right? Now I've discovered this very recently, and it makes a lot of sense. And it was something that I thought, yes, that's filled a gap in my own head. Oxytocin is that chemical that makes us feel really good. It makes us feel warm. It makes us feel fuzzy. It makes us feel like life is worth living. We want more of that. Now, go and do your own research, because obviously podcast episodes are only a certain amount of time, so we can't dive into the ins and outs of where the research comes from. Go and Google oxytocin. Essentially, we get a burst of that when we do something kind for another person, right? If we do something kind for another person without expecting something back, we get this burst of oxytocin. The person who we did the kind gesture for, they also get a burst of oxytocin. So if someone does something kind for us, we get that burst of oxytocin. If we witness someone doing a nice thing for another person, we get a burst of oxytocin. So that one nice, kind gesture has a roll-on effect again and again and again and again, right? Almost like dropping a pebble in a pond. It has a ripple effect across the world, because that first person who did something kind, they get the oxytocin. The person receiving it gets the oxytocin, and the person fucking looking at it gets the oxytocin. Negs are the opposite, total opposite, right? They're the gestures, they're the words, they're the lines. That's them saying, are you sure you're really going to be good at that? I don't think you should do that. I think you should play it safe, actually. I think you should be realistic. You know what? He's not very good at that. I'm not fucking very happy with this. Boom, 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 boom. Now, if we have those kind of thoughts, there's one thing that can be fucking seriously detrimental to our own mental health and the health of people around us. And that is vocalizing them without an intention to find a solution. So that is really fucking key. If you've got those negative thoughts, and of course you're going to have them at some point because you're a human being, if you vocalize them, it makes the negative thoughts way stronger, right? And way more likely to happen. Now, we're not saying, look, if you feel down, if you feel bad, if you feel negative about something, don't talk about it. What we're saying is vocalize it with an intention to find a solution. Because if you're simply vocalizing it just to bitch and just to moan and just to complain and just to whinge, then what it does is it brings everyone else around you down in this horrible spiral. However, if you vocalize the negative thoughts and feelings you have with an intention of finding a solution, then guess what will happen? You'll find a fucking solution. And successful people are solution focused. They have a positive outlook on life. They have a positive mindset, and they're always striving for more. They're happy with what they've currently got, but they're striving for more. The negs, total opposite. Total fucking opposite. And you don't want them molding up your living room and plaguing your life. So get them out your life.
So do you want mold or do you want oxytocin? And by the way, if you're looking to buy oxytocin, we sell it at www.thecoachingmasters.com. So guys, look, we could speak about this all day, but we want to get through to the next few points. We just want to quickly just round this off, guys, in terms of the negativity. It's the negs, it's the people with the moaners, the complainers, the whingers, the can't do's, the, it's impossibles, the live within your station, the don't want for nothings. They got those, but then you got the haters, the people that try and drag you down, the people that are projecting their own insecurities and doubts onto you and are jealous and try and look at you and think, I know I couldn't do it, so I'm going to drag you down to my level so I feel just a little bit better about myself. Like they say, hurt people. These people are just hurt. They're just dissatisfied with themselves. So this is not about you guys. I want you guys to know that if you're trying to do something you're passionate about, don't worry about what other people say. And look, I read a book once. I can't remember what book it was. And it said, if you haven't upset someone by 12 o'clock in the afternoon, you're not reaching enough people. Because as you grow and as you have more impact, people's opinions are polar. Some are going to like you, some aren't going to like you. And you have to accept that and embrace that they're always going to be that neg There's always going to be that group of negs. The negs hang out with other negs as well. So that's the problem. So you get fucking groups of them, and that makes it might seem like this overwhelming power that they have on you. But the key is to remind yourself that they're the problem, not you, and to focus your energy and your attention to the people that aren't negs and appreciate what you do and hold the same values and vision as you. And as long as you do that, those negs won't be able to influence you. And when they don't influence you, they lose their power, and then they just die like the mold that they are.
You could find the cure for cancer and someone will tell you to fuck off and call you a wanker. Never forget that. That's absolutely true.
Look at Bill Gates, for example. I mean, look, it's a controversial subject right now. Who knows what's going on? But he is literally just trying to cure a lot of world diseases. And they're like, he's an evil lizard.
Yeah, you know what I mean? He's like found this way of developing really efficient sanitary systems in third world countries that's never had them. Don't fucking do that. Okay, well, I'll tell you what I'll do instead is I'll just like try to cure cancer. So guys, just never forget, as long as your intentions are good, as long as your intentions are pure and what you want to do is genuinely help people, there will always be negs. It's a sad fact, but you can control it by cutting the mold out of the living room. Just get rid of them.
And smile as well.
Life's too short.
Just when they give you the negativity, when they give you the criticism and the hate, just smile as wide as you possibly can. Make them feel sick with your positivity, because then they're going to be repelled away from you, and that's exactly what you want.
I read something absolutely brilliant the other day, and it was you know on Instagram you just get these simple little quotes, right? And they get shared a lot because they're really simple but they're really straight to the point. I came across one and it said, "Be so positive that negative people don't want to hang out with you." And I just thought that is just.
I've got that on my profile. I reckon you read that on mine.
Oh yeah, maybe I did. Yeah. I think it's been so positive that negative people don't want to spend time with you. Yeah. I saw that and I just thought that is.
Can't stand to be around you or something like that. Yeah.
And that's what you want. You want to be so positive that negative people cannot stand to be in the same room as you. And you know what it does? Much like genius marketing, it attracts the people that you want in your life and it repels the people that you don't. And that is what happens when you make a firm decision that you're not going to go with the crowd and you're not going to be negative and engage in this thing that we like to call the collective consciousness of negativity. Because it's very easy to get caught up in that. It's very easy for someone to go, "Oh, fucking hell, weather's a bit shit today, isn't it?" And you go, and you're there thinking, "I quite like it when it's grey," but you go, "Oh, yeah, fucking crap." Because as soon as you vocalize it, it becomes a part of your life then, right? So it's like, I'm a firm believer, right? And I don't give a fuck what anybody says about this. I'm a firm believer. And if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all, all right? I swear to God, I'm a firm believer of, if your viewpoint is one of pure negativity, that one is only going to drag the other person down, and two, it is an uninvited opinion, right? They've not asked for it. It is uninvited. Keep your fucking mouth shut. If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all, especially if it is an uninvited negative opinion, right? Honestly, leave it and go somewhere else. And you know what as well? I've noticed another trait of negs, right? That they will uninvitedly bring some shit to your doorstep. And then when you react to the shit, they're really, really upset. And you know what? I've got another thing that I've believed in for a very long time. I believe that the reaction is always allowed to be bigger than the action. Because if this action is uninvited, right? Like let's say you're strolling down the street and you're just having a lovely day out with Diana. You're going to a couple of restaurants, you're going shopping, the mood is high, fucking everything's great. And someone uninvitedly just comes over and fucking slaps Diana in the face, right? I have a firm belief that there are much worse things that you're allowed to do to that person, because your reaction, I believe, is allowed to be bigger than the action, because the action was negative and uninvited, right? That's an extreme example. But negs are a good example of this, because even though it might not be the case of going up and slapping someone in the face, they do it with their words, they do it with their vibe, their attitude, they try to bring you down in that way. And if it's uninvited, right, you haven't asked for it, you're not inviting it into your life, then whatever reaction you have to that action is always allowed to be fucking way bigger.
I'll tell you what that is. Get the fuck out of my life. That's what that reaction should be. That should just be get out. Zero tolerance policy to negativity.
Yeah.
Right. So anyway, guys, just remember, if you have anyone negative around you, just look at them and say, "Do you know what? You're the problem, not me, and you're moldy." The next one, doing what others want of you. Now, we talk about this in so much detail within our coaching training because it's just so powerful. And it's just quite bizarre when you come to realize that the majority of people are doing things because other people are doing them, or they think they ought to, or should, or must, or it's what everyone else is doing, or their friend from school, or their parents do it. Never in a million years do they once consider sitting down and just thinking, what do I want to do? And
Yeah.
why is that, Liam? This blows my mind. People seem to think that we're fucking here forever. They just like in this very ignorant, blissful state where they're like, well, it will do. They're doing it, so I'll do it as well. But the reality is, we are temporary. And we have a very small sliver of time in comparison to the way that the length of time that has been before us and is going to continue after. We've got a fraction, a blip, and we're spending that doing things that other people want from us or what we think we should do, and not even living the life how we want.
Yeah.
How many people actually can say that they are doing what they want to do with their life?
Most successful people, especially the self-made ones, are doing what they want to be doing because that's how they get to that point, right? We're not going to say all because we never say all. We always say most because we don't generalize, but we can give that, a pretty good shot that it's most. The only explanation I could possibly think of it, which is outdated and doesn't make sense anymore, is when people talk about that ancient part of your brain, the amygdala, which is like way back in the day when we're all living in caves. And you know what? If one person ventured away from the group, you'd get eaten by a fucking bear or a saber-toothed tiger. So don't venture away from the group. How many years are we talking about here? I mean, it's just fucked up, isn't it? Okay, right, fair enough. There's the amygdala. There's the part of your brain that just kicks in when you think, oh, I don't want to be alone. I don't want to be out there. It's vulnerable. I'm going to get hurt. But in 2020 and beyond, we have developed other parts of our brain. We've exercised the plasticity of our brain to a point where we also understand that that's logically fucking crazy. You're not going to die when you venture away from the crowd and you look a little bit different, you do something a little bit different. In fact, you're going to find your fulfillment, you're going to find your passion, but you just need that initial level of bravery and composure to stop and walk away from what everyone else is doing and still be cool with that.
And awareness as well, because there's no excuse for ignorancy and complacency when you start to realize, damn, there's actually other things I could do, or there's things that I could do to explore myself, or books I could read, or training courses I could do, or coaches or mentors I could work with that will allow me to explore myself and uncover my values and my mission and my vision and my purpose. Like, this is available to you now, guys. It's easy to stay within your comfort zone. And again, look, repetition comes out again because there's these fundamental things that if you can just grasp, like, all right, not spending time on eggs and get out of my comfort zone. I need to be more open and receptive to solutions. There's quite a few of these like chunks of personal development, like pillars. If you can nail, your life will dramatically change. But this is one of them. It's easy to stay within your comfort zone. It's easy to be complacent. It's easy to go next week. It's easy to go, I can't be bothered. It's easy to go, well, this is what I know, right? But that means you're wasting your life. There is no time to do anything else other than what you want. Anything else is an absolute waste of time.
You know what I fucking love, mate? I tell you what I love is every single week we always receive so many messages about how people love this podcast, right? And by the way, keep sending them because I love reading them. And I know that Lewis loves reading them as well. Find us on Instagram and keep sending us those messages. Because it warms our hearts and we know that what we're talking about is good and it's passionate and it's true. But what I also love as well is those things that you just listed, like me and you really take them for granted. We list them like, oh yeah, but you know what, just don't spend time in eggs, do what it is you want to do, have more a level of awareness, have a solution-focused mindset. But you know what, like it can be revolutionary for someone to hear that and think, oh, fuck. That's true. If I did that, I'd be a lot more happier. I'd be a lot more successful. And this is what we want to do with this podcast. Even though we're to the point where it's like, okay, we take it for granted now. If you're listening to this and you have never even considered shifting from a problem-focused mindset where all you do is look for the wrong and the problems and shift over to a solution-focused mindset, and you make a firm decision today that you are never, ever going to vocalize a problem unless it comes with a potential solution that you figured out. Your life will change.
And we will go on about this stuff until we're blue in the face, until people start going out there and doing it. Because you might hear it and go, yeah, well, yeah, life begins at the end of your comfort zone. I read that in a book once, and I heard it on the Coaching Bastards podcast. I mean, you know, what was it? Coaching Masters, Postman in the Prison? I can't remember. I heard it somewhere. People would hear it, and even coaches, they hear it, and they even probably train their clients or coach their clients on this stuff, but yet they're still in their comfort zone. It takes a bit of repetition and a little bit of doing before those cogs start going, maybe I should, because I guess growth, maybe I should step into a zone of growth and in that stretch zone. And actually I'm going to do that, because I've heard it so many times now, and I'm in a situation where I can either stay in my comfort zone or I can step into my stretch zone. Right. Okay. I know what I need to do now. It's just not just hearing it once. You need to hear it many a times. Now, this week, and you might hear about this on another episode at some point, and I'm actually launching a YouTube channel, Lewis Raymond Taylor, Transform Everything. And I'm going to be talking about transforming everything and doing all sorts of weird, wacky, and wonderful ways to transform yourself. One of the things I did recently, and I'm not going to go into it in a massive amount of detail, I went and met this like shamanic, like energy healer, and he like laid me down on a table butt naked outside with like put loads of herbs all over me and was like, and also acupuncture and crazy stuff, right? These are things that you do to like find that next level. They're not things you necessarily need to do until you're doing the basics, guys. If you're a coach, if you're a human, if you're anybody who just wants to get further in life, feel better about themselves, have a better relationship with themselves, then just start with the basics, guys, and we will speak about them until we're blue in the face, because that one day when someone steps out their comfort zone, or they cut a negative friend out of their life that's been sabotaging their actions for the last 20 years, you know, or they start to go, do you know what, actually, I'm going to try and find a solution to this problem that's been eating me up inside. You know, when those shifts happen, the fundamentals, they can be the most profound, because they're the ones that get you started. They're the ones that allow you to finally move forward. They're not reaching for that next 0.1%. They're the ones that are going to shift you out of the state that you don't want to be in right now. I don't know if people do, but if people do sometimes think, well, I've heard that point before, or there's people out there that need to hear it, and we will keep on sharing these points until everyone's heard them.
We will share again and again and again, because understanding it is one thing, hearing it is one thing, but you need to take action on it. And that's another thing you're going to hear us talk about a lot, because otherwise nothing will change. You have to take action. One term that we've used for this quite a few times, which I love, is fundamentals. These are the fundamentals, you know, these are the foundations of what you need to be building upon if you want to be successful, if you want to be happy, if you want to change your life. Those things that we talk about, like getting negs out of your life, like having a solution-focused mindset, like taking action on things outside your comfort zone. It's not the last time you're going to hear us talk about it, because you need to do it. You need to do it. And all I love is when we get those people inboxing us and saying, oh, I really love this episode. And then what takes it to a whole new level is when people message us and say, I did this because of episode 6 and this has happened and it's fucking changed my life and I've had this realization. That's what we love.
Because for all the coaches listening to this, I know, and I've done this as well. I'm going, yeah, well, I know that. But I want you to ask yourself the question. Say, for example, it's a stepping out your comfort zone one. You're like, yeah, I know that. I know that. Get to the new stuff. Ask yourself, what is the thing you're most uncomfortable about? Have you done it? I bet you the answer is no. If so, you need to hear this message again. And we're here to share it with you, because we care about you guys enough to not just create content because, oh, that's a new interesting little tip that we brought to the table. We're here to create an impact. We're here to change people's lives. We're here to change coaches' lives. And we have transformed both of our lives. We know the things that fucking work. It's not the tantric fucking sex energy healing in the fucking mountains of Colombia. And it's not the shamanic light worker who's rubbing salt on your back and all sorts of crazy shit. That can have improvements and be transformative. But these things are the ones that are going to shift your entire perspective and your environment, the people around you, your energy, the way that you think and feel. And those are the things that we want to be helping you guys with.
Fundamentals. And one thing that you touched on there, which everybody needs to know, this is stuff that we have done time and time and time again. We have got experience, vast amounts of experience of getting negs out of our life, right? Cutting the mold out of the living room. We've got huge amounts of experience shifting from problem-focused mindset to solution-focused mindset. We've got a gigantic amount of experience stepping out of our comfort zone, which we do on a daily basis within our lives and within our business. The techniques we talk about, we use them, right? Don't ever listen to anyone who talks about them and doesn't use them. You need to be learning from people that use this stuff on a daily basis. The coaching techniques, the NLP techniques, everything that we talk about on this podcast, you absolutely have to listen and learn from people who have done it, gained the experience, and then say to you, right, guys, this is what I did, and this is what I learned, and this is what I recommend you do based on my experience. Not, this is what I read out of this book, and this is what I learned on this course, and I'm going to tell you what I learned on this course. Because think about it this way, guys, your life is fucking serious, right? Take it seriously. If you were about to go swimming for the first time ever in your life and you'd never learned how to swim, would you prefer someone who's in the swimming pool saying, look, I've learned how to swim, and if you get in with me, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold you and I'm going to show you the strokes and I'm going to teach you? Or would you rather learn from someone who said, look, I've read everything there is to read about learning how to swim, and because I've read it, I'm going to tell you what I've read and I'm going to throw you in the swimming pool? I know for a fucking fact I would prefer to be learning from that person who's in it, who's currently in it, and has learned from jumping in the water, swimming around, figuring it out and saying, come on guys, I'm going to show you what I've learned, instead of the person that read it out of the book.
The one that's dry outside, unprepared to even step into the water. I don't, I know how to do it, I just don't fancy getting in right now, I've got my certificate as well. Look, it says I can swim. Right. So trust me, I just don't fancy it. It doesn't feel right now.
Yeah, man. It's just, you cannot ever learn in that environment. The person at the side of the pool pushing up their glasses, like with the book, going, I know I can swim. I'm fucking reading everything there is.
It says here, you got to put one arm in front of the other into the water, and I put a cupping motion and sweeping it to the back. I'm sure I can do that. No problem. Right. Next.
Yeah. Right. So I think I could do that based on what I've read. Go on, jump in, give it a shot. Fuck that. No way, mate. Learn from the people that are in it. And that,
guys, look at people and say, if I'm going to listen to their opinion, have they got what I want? And are they demonstrating and practicing the things that I want? Because if not, there's no proof. Absolutely no proof. Right, let's move on to the next one. Listening to people who don't have what you want. And yeah, so true. Like, just because someone says they can help you doesn't mean they actually can. You want to be looking at someone, they're demonstrating that they've got the thing that you're looking for, because the proof's in the pudding. Results speak for themselves. And if they knew what to do, then they would be practicing it. And you want to be able to see that, rather than someone having to tell you they're good at what they do and tell you that they can help you. You want them to be showing you. And that's exactly what you want to be doing for your clients. Now, it amazes me how many different types of coaches aren't demonstrating their ability. Like, for example, a confidence coach, for example, who doesn't show up on Facebook Lives and, ooze their confidence out to their audience to the point where the audience are going, wow, I want a bit of that. I want a bit of that energy. I want a bit of that charisma and confidence. Yes, please. But they're not showing it. How many people actually demonstrate that they're living the life that they say that they can help people with? Very few. And it's not necessarily always down to the fact that they don't know how to. They just aren't showing it. Like that is, it's actually quite hard to communicate and articulate your ability. But yeah, if you're a lifestyle coach, you've got to be showing you've got a good lifestyle. Yeah. If you're a personal trainer, then you've got to be showing that you're in the gym regularly. And it's the same with all professions. You've just got to be demonstrating that you've got what they want and building the confidence and the trust that person looking at you can go, right, there's no doubt in my mind, there's complete and utter certainty that this person knows what they're talking about because I can see it with my own eyes.
The amount of research that has gone into looking at the effectiveness of 3 different types of teaching, right? Either, number 1, telling people what to do, right? Number 2, showing them what to do. And number 3, getting them to do it whilst you're doing it at the same time, right? There's a massive amount of research that's gone into those 3 different types of learnings. Now, that's what you want. You want that third one. You want that person who has done it, and more importantly, who has got it, who has got the thing that you want. And they're saying, I'm going to take you on this journey with me whilst I show you how it is I got where I am today, all the tools, all the techniques, all of the experience, whilst they're coaching you along the journey. Because it's very, very easy to just tell someone, this is what you do. It's a little bit more difficult, yet still not that good, just to show someone what to do. You want to be taking people on the journey that you've been on and get them to do it as well. But the reason why most people don't do that is because in order to do the third one, you need to have what the other person wants. And if you don't have what the other person wants, you shouldn't be coaching on it in the first place, because you've got to have what it is they want. You've got to be able to demonstrate it, that you've got it, and you're going to help them reach the same level and get to the same place. And it happens all too often. So guys, the main point of that is be very, very careful when it comes to who you're listening to, because you absolutely want to be listening to those people that do have what you want, opposed to the ones that don't.
It's so true that you say just listen to. I mean, because of course, yeah, don't invest your money into like the money manifestation coach who's skint, for example. Don't invest your money into them, but also don't invest your time into them, or even the capacity of allowing yourself to absorb that knowledge. Because the problem is, if you absorb someone else's knowledge, you're going to get the same outcome that they've got. And if their outcome isn't what you want, then you're going to be leading yourself down a garden path that you don't want to go down. You want to be absorbing content that you know is going to move you close to where you need to be. And say you might even be on the right track. You might even be wanting to do something that you believe in your gut is what you want to do. And then you listen to somebody else and go, well, they must know better than me, so I'll do what they want. And that could actually end up being the thing that takes you away from it. So you've got to be very protective over who you listen to. You know, you've got to be very protective of who you invest your time into. You've got to be very protective of obviously who you invest your money into, because obviously the money leads to the time and the information that you're absorbing. So guys, from now on, look at people who want to sell you something, give you something, share something with you, their opinion, their feedback, their information, and say, am I confident that they've got what I want? If they don't, then don't listen. Same with parents, same with tutors in school. Like, personally, I think people have this superiority sort of complex where they automatically assume that because somebody has qualifications or some level of professionalism, that there's somebody to listen to. And I guess that's a bit of a limiting belief, because, okay, you're incredibly educated, but do you necessarily have results? Do you have a life that I aspire to have? If the answer is no, then regardless of how good, accurate, professional, authoritative that information is, it's still not going to lead you where you want to be.
Results is the number one word to take away from that, which is what you just said there. Results. That is what it is all about, to be able to demonstrate those results. I can't remember who it was, but I remember I shared a video on my Instagram a couple of days ago of this one particular billionaire, and I can't remember his name. And there was just a quick, like 5-15 second video, and he was saying this exact thing. He was like, don't tell me about your degree. Don't tell me about your MBA. Don't tell me about your masters. Don't tell me about this shit. I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit. I want results, right? And I'll hire the people that get me the results.
And skills, wasn't it?
And skills, that was it. He was like, I'm going to be looking at your skills above your degrees every single fucking time. And at the end of the day, that is the world that we're moving into, because the fucking guise has been, if that's the term, the guise, I think so. It's been unveiled now. It's been unveiled. We've realized that however many years and decades, there have been those people that are sort of floundering around saying, look, but I've got this certificate and I've got this behind my name and I've got this as well. But people are getting to that point now where we have this age of the internet and we can see inside, and we're like, what are the results? What are the skills? What are the things that I can learn from? Where are the demonstrations? Who can I follow in that instance?
You're an academic, you've got lots of information, but you've got a mortgage and a stable career and not much going on. And actually that doesn't excite me and fulfill me. I think I want a different path. We're not necessarily discrediting or devaluing the information that some academics might have, for example. I'm just giving an example. The information's great, but if that information doesn't lead you to a result, it's pointless. I think people get caught up in forgetting why they're doing it. They're like, yeah, but I want a degree. No. You want to get a job. And even that's wrong, because you want to create a career and a living and a way of life. That should be your outcome. I want to have a very fulfilling career that pays me. How do I get that? Rather than, I need a degree, I need qualifications, I need information, I need knowledge. Now you need a vehicle, and that may be degrees, that may be knowledge, that may be information, but you need a very specific vehicle that's going to take you very specifically to where you need to be. And that may not be the traditional route.
And even then, it's like those things will always be half a vehicle, right? It will always only be half the journey, because that's where people, they trip up with that. It's like the qualifications, the degrees, all of the stuff, all of the study, right? It's like, yeah, brilliant, that's great. But it's only information, like you said. It's only what you do with that information that brings part B. You know, the information is part A, but part A without part B is absolutely fucking pointless. It's half a car. So if you're just constantly topping up that information, right? You're constantly topping up part A, but you don't action it. You don't do anything with it. You don't then go out and demonstrate and get results and do the thing that everybody you're trying to help wants to do and live the life they want to live. Then you'll never have part B. And you need both parts. Like, they need to have the information and you need to have the fucking action, right? You need to have the action, you need to have the demonstration. Because using another analogy, I mean, it's much like with the swimming pool thing. Again, someone could have a degree in, I don't know what the term would be, but like when people are experts in like plants, nature, different types of animals, like, but say for instance, someone was like an absolute fucking textbook expert in the Amazon rainforest, right? I would hands down still prefer to have that man or that woman who's actually been in the Amazon rainforest 100 times and has fucking survived the worst of the worst whilst being inside of it. I would still prefer to have them as my guide and my teacher, rather than the person who's learned everything there is to learn about the rainforest and what all the dangerous animals are and why they're dangerous, telling me why they're dangerous as I venture into that fucking thing all by myself. I'd prefer to have by my side that person who has gained that level of knowledge and experience from being inside the fucking Amazon rainforest every single time. Because I know they're going to get me out the other side. The person who's learned about it in every textbook there is, they're not going to get me out the other side. There's no, I'm going to be looking after them.
Do you know what? They say analysis is paralysis as well. And sometimes information's overwhelming because you have too much choice, too much direction, too much free reign. Like when I went, because I went back to do a degree when I was in my mid-20s as a mature student. I got 3 months in and I was learning about, and I'd already started my business and getting some success with it, but I was learning about, you know, economics and statistics and a little bit of marketing and a little bit of operations and things like that. And I was like, I don't want all that because that's not where my passion is. That's not what I need right now to grow my business. I can literally go on Google or YouTube and find information that's going to help me grow my business far more successfully and far more quickly than learning about all these random subjects that pull me in all different directions. Now, of course, you need like a foundation. You need to know a bit about everything. But like spending 4 years learning extensively in areas that you're never going to use is just going to like fill up a piece of your brain that's going to distract you from the piece that you're looking to fill. Information isn't always a good thing. Like there was a period in my business career where I switched off all content, all reading, all knowledge, all learning for at least 2 years. I went, that's enough. I've got enough now. I don't need any more. And I just worked and took action every single day. I scrolled past content, just didn't even allow myself to read a single piece, scanned bits to see what the gist was about, you know, and didn't allow myself to consume it because I knew I didn't need it. I'd had enough information. I was like, right, the information and knowledge I've got is moving me forward. So all I need to do is continue doing that. If I stop and read something else, then essentially I may move in a different direction, or I may even move backwards, or I might even stop. So it's a balancing act, and you've got to decide when that point is in your life. Because something we'll talk about on the next episode is, you know, it's very important to educate yourself. So it's like we're sort of contradicting ourselves in a sense, but it's like you got to know what stage you are in your life and what you need. If you have enough, if you've got, I mean, the amount of people that have got like lists and lists of qualifications and they're still seeking the next one without even starting anything. It's like, it's a waste. By the time you complete one qualification, you're going to have forgotten the one you did the time before. Because if you don't implement it, you lose it. If you don't use it, you lose it, kind of thing, right? And it's true. You have to solidify that by applying the sort of practical experience with it.
We see it a lot in the coaching space, don't we? You know, we see it time and time and time again. And there's the Coaching Masters podcast, of course. People are listening to this, they're like, you've probably seen it as well. I'm sure you've seen it as well. And we talk about this a lot within our community. Those coaches that seek the next certificate and the next certificate and the next certificate and the next qualification and this and this and this, which is really, really, really valuable only if you take action on it, and then you go out and you discover the things that need to be done to build your authority, to get clients, to create good content, to realize how you need to attract the clients and the people in your life, figure out who you're going to help, how you're going to help them. It's like, yeah, all of them certificates are fucking great as long as you're doing part B. And without part B, it's fucking pointless.
Because guys, you can trust us that this is so unbelievably important, because our business exists to provide qualifications, but yet we are still standing against it and going, you don't always need them. We have got a hugely high success rate of about 98%, because we say, right, get up now, time to go and get yourself some clients. And we train on that as well. We don't just spit out certificates. We help people become coaches and get results. You know, that's a big difference. We're not just certifying coaches, we're helping people become coaches. And we will actually say, what's going on, guys? Where's your next client coming in? How many discovery calls you done this week? How much impact you're making? Who's shared their story on social media this week? Who's put out content? Who's using those fucking superpowers that you spent your whole life acquiring and spent the time to get the education on top? We sell qualifications. Right? That's what we do, but yet we are still here to tell you how important it is to apply those things. And don't get caught up buying the next training and the next qualification to make you feel as though you're ready and that you are enough and you are able to help and provide others, because you have that with no qualifications. The qualifications just help you improve, build your confidence a little bit more, give you that extra validation and social proof, but you do not need them. You have enough right now. If you've got a couple of qualifications under your belt, wow, stop, go and use them and then come back to us and we can maybe help you get some more.
And definitely don't think that the more qualifications you have, the more clients you're going to have. Because that is absolutely not how it works. Because for all of those coaches listening to this, your clients care about one thing and one thing only, and that is the results that you're able to help facilitate them create. They do not give a fuck about anything else, because that's why they pay you their hard-earned cash, to get results.
And also, if you're not putting yourself out there, if you're not, actually going out and trying to acquire clients, they don't know how good you are. So it's irrelevant how many certificates you've got piled up and how much superpowers you've got locked up in your head. Because if you're not using them, people aren't getting value from them. And that's that. You could be the best coach in the world, but if you haven't got clients, you're the worst.
Absolutely.
Because no one's getting value from it. So it's irrelevant. We've got one more that we'll quickly end on. And it's one that everyone will know. And that is, and this one's collective. It's about TV, media, and news. Now, if you don't know by now, guys, wow, where the hell have you been? You need to know. Now, let me give you a little secret. If you know Liam, you'll know he's very positive. You know he's very smiley. You'll know he's unshakable, right? When we were about, I can't remember exactly the date, probably about 5 or 6 weeks into the coronavirus pandemic, Liam called me up, absolutely shocked at the fact that there was queues of people queuing up outside Sainsbury's. He didn't understand. He's like, mate, they're going crazy. There's queues outside Sainsbury's. I was like, we're in a global pandemic, Liam. And he doesn't, well, I mean, share with him, Liam. You don't watch anything, do you?
I avoid the news, and that is in the form of newspapers. That is in the form of the news on the TV. That is in the form of Apple News on your phone. I avoid every single shred of it like the fucking plague. And I tell you why I avoid it, because I know how businesses work. I know that negativity, worry, and fear, when hosted by an organization who make their money from the amount of newspapers that are sold, I know that it's an excellent way of selling newspapers. And I also know a lot about the media. I worked in the media for a very, very long time. I've done a lot of stuff on TV. I've done quite a few good films. I know how it fucking works, guys. And trust me, I know better than anyone, it's not true what is said to you on a daily basis, but it sells a hell of a lot of front page newspapers.
And even if you know it's not true, because you're like, oh yeah, the sort of news, they blow things up, they fabricate it, but you're still reading it. You're still filling yourself up with that negativity. You're like, oh, brilliant, terrorism. Let's see what's on the next page. Oh, pedophilia. Brilliant. What's on the next page? Oh, global pandemic. Brilliant. Well, we'll be next on the page. How are you going to feel if someone's like, hey, you might be sexually molested, or the day after, the whole world might implode or maybe get eaten by a virus. You know, how, I mean, that's not going to make you feel very good. That's going to limit you. That's going to stop your decisions. I mean, of course, you think, should I travel? Oh no, because of this. Should I like go out for and meet some friends this evening? Well, no, because it's quite dangerous, you know, and it just keeps you within that box. And I think that's actually part of the agenda.
Mm-hmm.
So guys, the fear is a currency of control, and it's fake news anyway. And even if it was real, there's a saying that I've said many times, and I'll say it again. Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Now, the things that are happening in the mainstream, if they are accurate, they are still outside of your control. Feeding into it and being a part of it is just going to make you feel shit and stop you from doing the things that you are in control over, because you're consumed by the things that you cannot control. If you shift your energy to the things you can control and focus on you and let that negativity be someone else's problem, then you'll be in a much better place. And grant you this wisdom, always look at the media and go, it's negative, it's fear mongering, it's clickbait, it's a business. And you know what? Even if it was true, it's outside of my control. I tell you what, I'm going to turn that off. I'm going to protect my energy, and I'm going to shift my focus to what I can control. Because I promise you now, if you start doing things that you do have control over, rather than focusing your energy on things that you don't, you'll see a lot more things happen. Because unfortunately, coronavirus or not, pedophilia ring or not, all this other stuff, this is very controversial now, within a certain extent, there's not much we can do about things like that. Okay. And no matter how much anger you've got, no matter how much fear you've got, no matter how much you smash your fist down and tell everyone how upset and angry you are at the situation, it will be the same. However, if you start to shift your focus on the things you can control, then you'll see things changing and shifting and moving you close to all the things that you care about, and your life will be far, far better.
And you know what? Here's another way of icing that controversial cake as well. Unless you're going to make the firm decision that you are going to try to do something positive about it, don't fucking consume it. Because at the end of the day,
don't moan about it if you're just going to fucking feed into it.
Don't moan about it if you're going to feed into it. Don't let it into your mind or into your life. Unless you have made a firm decision, you're going to go and do something about it, and you're going to help, and you're going to do something positive, constructive. Don't consume it for the sake of consuming it because it's easy to consume. Lewis said something earlier, and this is something we talk about a lot as well. Be protective over, I tell you what, in terms of my mind, I am very fucking protective over what gets in and what gets out, right? Be protective over what gets into your mind first and foremost. And consuming the news is the fucking worst way in the world that you can let yourself down. It really is, because it's easy to consume and there's an element of entertainment. But you know what? It's poison. It's absolute poison. And like Lewis said, when I first went to Sainsbury's and there were people queuing around the block and we were about 5 weeks into this corona thing, I was genuinely shocked. It was the first I'd heard about it. And you know what? And again, after that, I was like, that's the extent of the problem for me. Is like, okay, I've got to queue up now for a couple of days and then it all went back to normal again. I still haven't got a fucking clue what's going on with it, mate. And honestly, I couldn't care less.
And you've been skipping about whistling, happy as Larry, whereas everyone else is rolling on the floor, shitting himself.
Happy as Larry, because at the end of the day, I don't let it in. But I tell you what I do let in. I let in solutions. I let in constructiveness. I let in positivity, helping people, genuinely do something that I can have an effect on. And if I can't,
you can help alleviate the stress, the overwhelm of the whole situation that's going on. But you can't control what's going on, the actual situation in itself. So guys, that's powerful. I've noticed today that we've had a bit of a rant at you guys. So I hope that you take that with massive love, because every now and again we get passionate and it comes through as a bit like, stop doing this, guys, for fuck's sake. But really what we're just trying to do is share love with you, because we care about you guys enough to be the sort of slightly overly passionate people that are prepared to share it with you and say things that maybe you might not necessarily want to hear. And it may, like we said, be things you've heard before, but if it's the final time that you need to hear it, to go, do you know what? I'm going to turn that news off. And do you know that Debbie from work, I'm going to block her on social media and all the other things we've spoken about. So guys, this is always with huge love. You know, our mission is to provide ordinary people with extraordinary tools to create freedom for themselves and others. And these gifts that we're sharing with you week on week are the extraordinary tools that you can use to create freedom in your life. And once you've learned them, you can then gift them back to other people, creating a ripple effect in the world. But we have a platform, we have a stage, a virtual stage with the Facebook group and the podcast and the social media. And we owe it to ourselves and we owe it to everybody else to say exactly what we mean, to speak about it with passion, to not hold anything back. And sometimes if we've got to say, turn the fucking news off and stop being negative and start looking at solutions, because you deserve more from your life. You deserve to go after what you truly want, not what other people want, what you think you should do, ought to, must do. We are passionate about ridding people of that stuff, removing the things that are stopping you from being successful, like this podcast right now, because we see the aftermath. We see the people that break free from it and turn around and say, it was just that one sentence you said, and I'd heard it before, but that one time you said it, it just hit home. And I went out and I did this. And it was the best thing I've ever done for myself. And as a result of that, I went away and did this. And 6 months later, my life has completely changed. That's what we're going after now, guys. This is what we are here to do. We're very passionate about it. And that is why they call us the Coaching Masters. So, Liam, anything else you want to add to that, my friend?
We love you all. We will only ever tell you the stuff that's going to work and is going to make a difference, create impact in your life, and allow you to be successful, happy, and move forward in a direction that you want. So keep listening to the Coaching Masters podcast.
And something we've never done on this podcast, because we haven't been able to, branding wise, up until more recently, but I think it's time. So I just want to leave you on this final message, guys. And this is something we sign off every single Facebook Live that we do within our community. And we think it's time to share it with you. So guys, this could be your reality.
Coach your way to freedom.
Take care, guys. Enjoy your week, and we'll see you next week on the Coaching Masters podcast.